Okay. All right. We are getting in. We're going to let some people come on in here into this chat. Get on in here and get into some of this live. Find out what's going on. Hold on. Let's get it all in here right. Let's see. We'll get that phone number in here too for people that want to call in. So get that together. All right, let's see. Let's find out what's going on. All right. Yeah, we're going to open up the phone line too. Want to hear what everybody's saying out here about it. We're going to get this thing going. We're going to get this thing rocking. We're going to talk to you guys tonight about Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez. We're going to let some people roll on up here in the chat while I get this number out here up in here in the thing. We ain't ready to take calls yet, but we're going to pin it in, then open in the phone lines. So let me get that number together real quick. Yeah. Get that phone number together real quick, man. I got that number in here. So I'm kind of changed up first process of doing these live. So I'm gonna put this number on in here. Let me get this number right here and get this on in here in the chat. We're gonna pin this up right here. Let people call in and send off, and I'm gonna pin that one up. Pin that message up. There we go. Pin that message right on up, right there, and let people get on in. We're gonna take some call-ins here in just a minute. Let me get this cord together. Hold on, guys. Hold on 1 second. Get this cord in here real quick. Here we go. So we can get it in here and let people call in and see what's going down. All right, we're going to talk about this Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. I guess we're ready. First take tonight. Going to put this one on in, let everybody call in on that. There we go. All right, now let's get this thing official. Let's make it official.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so we're going to give people a little second to get on in here, and we're going to talk a little bit about this Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Well, here we are now, so we're going to go ahead and get started with it. So, tonight was Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson's first time facing off on this fight that they're going to have April the 30th, which is going to be a pretty good fight. I don't think that Oscar Valdez really wanted this fight in the beginning. I honestly think that the reason why Shakur Stevenson is actually getting this fight is because of Terrence Crawford. I just got to be honest with you guys. I think Terrence Crawford, his lawsuit against Bob Arum and saying that the way Bob Arum is treating black people is where the problem is coming in at, you know? And I think that that's where we have this discrepancy coming out is about how a lot of these people are not excluding black fighters, you know, and that's what the lawsuit is about that Terrence Crawford took out on Bob Arum, is that they excluding black people out. And I think that Bob Arum, to save face, I think he gave made Oscar Valdez a good deal to take on this Shakur Stevenson fight. And that's just coming straight from me, that I really think that is what's going on here, is that Oscar Valdez really didn't want to fight. They had everything going on saying that how Shakur Stevenson, that Shakur Stevenson needed to fight somebody else first. You know, that whole thing of who has he fought type deal. But I think that it kind of brought it down to earth is back when Bob Arum said, he thought Shakur Stevenson should fight the guy who Valdez had already beat. So, but once Terrence Crawford put that lawsuit in, it was miraculously, here you go. Now Bob Arum is making the fight. What changed? I think the only thing that changed is that Bob Arum wanted to make sure that he wasn't portrayed in a rough light. You know, that's what it was, so to speak. It was a rough light, And he didn't want to be portrayed in that because he know he has $10 million on the line, that if he is out here discriminating against black fighters, which is a really good argument because, you know, you had Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather was really peeved about it. He left. He said how Bob Arum treated black people. And so to really stick to the subject, get back onto the subject is that I really do feel that, and that's for a whole nother video, and we'll start doing some more lives and we'll talk about that stuff. But really to get right back down to it is that Bob Arum really didn't want to make the fight at first. And I think that because of the lawsuit is why he made the fight. I think Oscar Valdez didn't want the fight at first. So whatever he did to sweeten the pot for Oscar Valdez to take that fight, I think that's what happened. So sorry about that, guys. But I think that's what it was. I think that's what happened, and is what it was. And that's why he got the fight. But I'm hoping some people roll in and get some of their chats and want to call in to the show and sound off on how they feel about it. But anyway, we'll keep on cooking it a little bit more and talking to you guys a little bit more about it and going in a little bit more in depth as far as Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevens fight. I know it's really too close. It's a little too far away from the fight. I don't want to give my opinion of the fight right now because I want to do the fight breakdown a little bit later. But like I said, tonight I had this new equipment. And because I had this new equipment, I wanted to be able to give people a chance to come in, test it out, do a live, and let people call into the show and hear what they have to say about the Shakur Stevenson and the Oscar Valdez fight. I'd like to know your take on it. And like I said, a little bit later on down the road, as it's getting close to April, I will actually do a fight breakdown. But right now, this is not a fight breakdown. They had him on Fight Hype, is where I saw the video of Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson having the first face-off of this fight that's coming up. And what was kind of peculiar to me is that Oscar Valdez kept his glasses on. And you know, when you're doing a face-off, two fighters are actually staring each other down and looking each other's eyes. And how can you do that if you got glasses on? And after it was over with, they were interviewing Oscar Valdez, and they asked him, they said, what is your thoughts about it? How did you feel about it? He said, well, you know, I read a lot of people's energy. And he said, the energy that I got off of that, I didn't really feel Shakur Stevenson's energy. So I don't know if he's saying that he doesn't think Shakur Stevenson is tuned in, or he's not thinking that Shakur Stevenson is going to show up. Don't know what he was really trying to say about his energy wasn't there, because I saw Shakur Stevenson, like he always is, his smile, showing his dimples and showing, hey, man, I'm having fun. You know, he's a younger guy. Look like he's really enjoying this stuff. And look, to me, he's tuned in, and he was staring him right in the eyes from what he could see as far as having those glasses on. And so when I saw that, I just knew that it seems to me that Oscar Valdez, he's not tuned into the fight. And that was my opinion of it, is that he's not tuned into the fight, because if it's a stare down, why would you have your glasses on? And most of the time when fighters have their glasses on, when it's about time for the stare down, you know what they'll do? They'll take their glasses off, and then they'll have their stare down, because they want to get right in front of the other fighter's eyes, and they want to look him right in the eyes, and they want to let him see visually what they're thinking, you know. And so they kind of look at that as, you know, certain people look at, like, I don't think it's a big deal in what it tells in the beginning, because we'll see how their stance come, how their look, and how the buildup of the fight goes. And this, like I said, was the first one. It was outside, but you can't take a lot away from it. But normally, you know, people say as the face-off, they kind of say, well, who kind of won the first face-off? And if we got to give that opinion a little bit, I say that Shakur Stevenson won that face-off, all because Oscar Valdez didn't want to remove his glasses and have a real eye-to-eye stare-off. And I think that that's a lot of things that fighters look at and go on, because they want to see how tuned in of the fight you are. But it's so early into this pre-fight stuff, is that what is it, March the 9th today? So you still have a whole month, almost 2 months to go. So, like I said, we can't really buy into that. And if you guys see this and somebody want to call in, the number is actually up on the screen. If you want to call in and you want to talk about how you feel about the fight, feel free to call in. We got the phone lines open. And so call in and we'll tune you right on in. But other than that, we're going to keep right on cooking. So I'm so happy that Shakur Stevens got this fight, because it seems like he was one of those fighters that they were going to start freezing out, because that's what they're doing Devin Haney. And I think that is the saddest thing for boxing right now, is that all these new fans that are coming in, they're not holding their fighters accountable. And it's bad on a lot of other fighters, because these fighters have sacrificed so much in their lives coming up through the rankings, being dedicated, because there's a lot of things that they missed out on, while other people were hanging out at school or doing other things. These kids were traveling, getting in the Golden Glove tournaments. They also was trying to train for the Olympics, some that went to the Olympics and stuff. And then so once they finally make it to a position in life to whereas they can now start benefiting from their hard work and start getting the belts and all the other stuff that they've been visualizing ever since they were little kids, or when they first came into the sport, at teenagers, whenever it was that they came in. Now that they have a chance to do it, you got fighters that are not willing to give them a shot at it. And it's like, what more can you do? You sacrificed your whole life, and now you at a level to whereas you would think now it's time to prove who is the best. There's no other levels higher than professional boxing. Once you make it to that belt level and you make it to that elite level, it's time. And they put in so much work. And to deny them of that is just horrible, man. And they're doing it to a lot of people. And you got Shakur Stevenson, who is in his early 20s. I think he's 24, 25 now. You got Devin Haney, who is 22, 23. And you got these guys that they can freeze these guys out and have these guys frozen out for most of their career. And then by the time they get into the payday side of it, as Canelo would say, payday, you want payday. As they get into the pay side of it, they don't get the big fights that they want. And if they don't take down big names, then guess what? Their stock doesn't grow, and that affects their purse. And so you got fighters out there, and that's what I can't stand about this new era, is that you got these fighters out here who are holding up the division. And I've went hard on Keith Thurman for quite some time. Keith Thurman held up the welterweight division. You had Earl Spence that wanted to fight him. You had Terrence Crawford that wanted to fight him as well. And he told them guys, I'll go get a belt. Those guys went and got a belt, and he still, oh man, it was my elbow. He had to have elbow surgery. Then after that, it was something about his hand or something else, surgery that he needed but he didn't get. Next thing you know, he was going around the world playing the flute, chasing his wife out in Nepal. Got married, came back, had an opportunity to fight Pacquiao, and went and fought Pacquiao off of the cuffs of Keith Thurman. Went and fought Pacquiao. And knew he was a little injured, but he couldn't miss out on that once in a lifetime opportunity, because he actually fought Josecito Lopez first. Well, he barely made it through that fight. Josecito Lopez hit him with a body shot and almost dropped Keith Thurman, and that really started showing a lot more of his vulnerabilities from those body shots. I think that was one of the first ones. So he fought Pacquiao after the Josecito Lopez fight. He lost to Pacquiao, which I can't give Keith. It's kind of hard for me to look at Keith Thurman and give him a pass on the way he was carrying himself. And like I said, he was out playing flutes and going out in Nepal. He wasn't training. And in those 2 years' time, he could have went and had surgery that he needed with his hand right along when he had his elbow surgery. But he comes back, he loses with Pacquiao. Then he goes and takes a surgery about his hand and says he wants to come back and fight Pacquiao. But Pacquiao wasn't having it, because Pacquiao's like, I already got your belt. And some of the things that Keith said in some of those press conferences, Pacquiao took personally. Keith, I know Keith was selling the fight, but I think Pacquiao got a little annoyed about some of the things. But anyway, Pacquiao didn't want to fight Keith again. So that was Keith holding up the division in my eyes. And so now you have people like Keith Thurman, who is on the outside looking in, and now he wants the top fighters to give him a shot back in. And I feel he should have to work his way back up the same way he did those guys. So it goes back to say that we have these fighters that we don't hold accountable. I held Keith Thurman accountable. I also held Teofimo Lopez. He started wanting to dodge Devin Haney. He wanted to dodge everybody else. After he beat Loma, he said that Loma didn't do didn't want a rematch clause, and Loma made it hard on him, but he refused to fight Loma again, in which I wasn't upset because Loma dodged Devin Haney and asked for franchise, so he dodged Devin Haney too. And so it just seems like through boxing we're not holding these fighters accountable because we're giving them passes. And I look at it like this: I like fighters, but I'm in love with the sport more. One of my, I guess right now, my top favorite fighter would probably is Earl Spence. Not probably, but is Earl Spence. He's not my number one pound for pound. Terrence Crawford is my number one pound for pound, but Earl Spence is really my favorite fighter. I got him as the number one welterweight, and I do give him the nod at beating Terrence Crawford. But if Earl Spence gets past Ugas, and then he starts, Bud this, and I'd rather go fight somebody else, outside of what some of the business stuff is. Like, I do think PBC is going to make it hard on Terrence Crawford to make the Earl Spence fight, but I think they need to come to some kind of workout agreement because I do think Spence is a man of his word. So I do think Spence is going to fight Bud, but if I start feeling like Spence is dodging Bud, I'm going to hold Spence accountable. The same way I held Bud accountable for not fighting a lot of big names. You're out fighting Green Machine, a lot of people over in the UK. The same thing I get on Canelo Alvarez about, I got on Bud about it. But Bud went ahead and took the fight with Sean Crawford. Now, with him taking the fight with Sean Crawford, I will say this. Bud took the fight with Sean Crawford, but it had to be a purse bid. It was they made it a mandatory, and then they ordered a fight. So the WBO ordered a fight between him and Sean Porter, and I don't really say it was Bud really dodging it as much. I think it was more of Bob Arum, because Bob Arum and PBC had a hard time working together, even when it was a purse bid. And when Bob was getting ready to lose the purse bid, he went on in negotiations, and they made sure they made it work to make that happen. And that really falls on Bob Arum. And so as soon as that fight was over with, Terrence Crawford left Top Rank. But it still goes back to say that because Terrence Crawford left Top Rank, I hold him accountable, but I stopped riding him as hard as I was because he did fight Sean Porter. Now, if he had pulled out of the Sean Porter fight and went the other way, then I would have had a problem with Terrence Crawford. But Terrence Crawford stayed in there. He entered the fight. He did what we wanted to see him do. And now I do think that he's right in line for Earl Spence, and that I hope he holds out without taking another fight to see what Earl Spence will do if Earl Spence makes it past Ugas. So that goes back to say that because I have a favorite fighter in there, and I already said Earl Spence is my favorite fighter right now, but if he doesn't take on the Terrence Crawford fight next, then I'll be after him too, saying, hey man, come on man, you're ducking or whatever else, or whatever it is. But we're not going to go there. We're going to let the fights unfold and see if Earl Spence gets past Ugas. But it takes me back to the Valdez fight. I don't think Valdez wanted to fight. I kind of was out there riding Valdez kind of hard and going off on Twitter and putting things out there about Valdez because I didn't think Valdez really wanted to fight. Do I think Valdez is scared? No, but I think that Valdez sees Shakur Stevenson as a big threat. I really do feel that way, and I don't think that was the first fight he wanted to take. I think he probably wanted to get another fight in, maybe go after another belt. But Shakur Stevenson, he really wants to challenge himself. He really thinks he's the best at 130, which I think he's the best at 130, but I can't say 100% fact he is, but I just take my hat off to the young man because he wants that fight. And he also wants the Loma fight. He said he's willing to move up with Loma, but he would like to get the Valdez fight. He would like to become undisputed at 130. And so I take my hat off to him. And I take my hat off to all fighters who step up to the plate and give the fans what we want. And I know a lot of fans here recently, we've been going back and forth about different boxers and stuff. And a lot of times you get fans who think that you're knocking their fighter because you're either jealous of their fighter, you hate their fighter, or you're just prejudiced. And I'm neither. I'm just true to the sport of boxing, and I love the sport. And I feel that no matter who you are in the sport, that if you're in that sport, you should give the other people at the top. You can't fight everybody, but you should give a lot of people at the top a chance at fighting you if you hold the belt. The same way you got the opportunity, because you must prove that you are the best. And if you do that, then you'll be the best. You'll go down in history. And at the time that you're not the best, then guess what? The younger lions, the younger fighters are going to come up and knock you off the top of your mountain. And so, like I said, guys, I do have the number in on the screen. It's locked in. So all you guys do is look down at the bottom, and you guys will see the number. And if someone wants to call in and give their thoughts on the Valdez and Shakur fight on their first face-off, feel free to give us a call. And we just keep on rolling. But right now, until someone calls in, we'll just keep right on cooking. And we'll keep right on putting it down because, like I said, man, there's just so much that I see in these young fighters like Shakur Stevenson, man. The guy is, I think he's going to be a great fighter just like Ryan Garcia. You know, I'm really kind of biased towards Ryan Garcia because I really like Ryan Garcia. I think he's got a lot of skills. I think the kid's got a lot of charisma. I'm hoping that kid finally gets his head together and get back in on it. And he's been doing a lot of little stuff over the past years where he's been backing out of fights and doing all kind of crazy stuff. But I really like Ryan Garcia as a person, as a good guy. It's just something about the kid that I like. And he just seems like he's a down to earth kid. Now, do I say he's the best at 135? Nah, I don't think he's the best at 135, but I think the kid's got skills. And I would love to see his mental get back and catch back up with his physical. I think that when he had that fight the other day and he got knocked down and got back up, even though he won the fight, I think that kind of had a little bit on his psyche. So Ryan Garcia has got to step up to the plate. Now, back on to Tank Davis. Tank Davis is a real good fighter. I think this fight with Rolly, I like to see the fight. You know, I got Tank slaughtering Rolly, which is I think everybody has it at. But I think that after this fight, I think that Tank has to step his up too, because it's time for all these guys to step up to the plate and show us how great they really are. And because I think all the fans, we have too many things in our mind that we think this fighter beat this fighter beat that fighter. But I think at this point in time, we definitely need to see who's going to win. And I don't think that's too much to ask for from a boxing standpoint. You know, I really don't. And that's why I say with this Valdez and Shakur Stevenson fight, man, I really think it's going to be a really good fight. Valdez is a really good fighter. But I think in Valdez's mind, I think Valdez has a little bit of doubt. Most people might not. I haven't heard a lot of people say that they think he's got doubt. Because I think that when you say a person has doubt, you start saying that it kind of bordered the lines of being scared. And I don't think most of these boxers are scared of another boxer, but I do think that they understand the threat that they're up against. And I think that sometimes they want to avoid certain threats. And I think that Valdez looks at Shakur Stevenson as a big threat. I just think Shakur Stevenson, I really feel he's the best at 130, but he does have to prove it. I want to see him fight Valdez. I was hoping that he would fight Chris Colbert next, but Chris Colbert lost, so that takes care of that. And I think Chris Colbert had a whole lot to say. You know, I think Chris Colbert thought he was better than what he was. You know, not saying he's a bad fighter. I think he's a really good fighter, but I think he's on the level that he thinks he's an elite fighter, which is cool. You should have confidence in yourself, which he does. He has confidence in himself. But I think he was a little way overconfident, and I think he took that guy lightly. But hey, he stepped in there and he took on the fights, and I take my hat off to him for that. Hope the guy gives him a rematch. He's going to have to dig down deep and go back to the gym and correct whatever it is that's wrong and get back out there to it. So that's a good thing. And I also think that with Valdez, that's why I say I don't want to say that Valdez is scared, but I think that Valdez is hesitant. You know, and I think that people like Chris Colbert, who are not hesitant, things like that happen when they get overconfident. And I think that sends shockwaves to the rest of the boxing world, that some of the people out there start thinking that, hey, man, I'm just going to dodge this guy because I want to keep my belt long enough to whereas I can start making up and making higher paydays. I think a lot of boxers have in mind that they want to make a bigger payday. And I think that's a lot of it, is wanting to make a bigger payday, and they don't want to take that because I think Mayweather Mayweather's career kind of hurt the sport of boxing really it helped the sport of boxing, but it also hurt as well because Mayweather was so concerned about not losing that O. And then you heard Keith Thurman, I got an O and I ain't afraid to let it go. And I think so many boxers put emphasis on not ever losing, and they think that losing is a death sentence, and that ain't true. Losing is definitely not a death sentence, not at all. And I think that more fighters need to get out there and prove their worth because Canelo, think about this. Canelo took a loss from Floyd Mayweather and became the face of boxing after. Think about that. Really think about that. You got Canelo Alvarez who got beat by Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather retired and then Pacquiao. But through all of that, you have Canelo who took a loss, and actually I got him losing the first fight of the Triple G fight. I got him losing the fight with Lara and Trout. But even with that, he has 1-0 on his record, and it's like the guy's not defeated. Has never been defeated. Look at Loma. Loma has 2 losses, and people still giving him a shot. So I think fighters today need to stop worrying about taking a loss, and I think if they all get in there and mix it up, they'll all make more money. But I think the problem is they think that if they get out there and they take a O, they won't be back in the mix. And it's understandable because you got fighters, like I said, Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney, Jaron Ennis, Virgil Ortiz. You got David Benavidez. You got a lot of fighters out there who hasn't taken a loss. And they can't seem to get those shots of greatness that they would like. And so it makes all those fighters, they say, well, okay, I haven't taken a loss and I can't get the fights that I want. But if I take a loss, then how bad would it be? And it's sad because it's the politics of boxing that's really hurting boxing because you got promoters and it goes into these fighters without a loss. So you got promoters, if they like you, like take for instance Bob Arum, he liked Loma, and so Loma had a loss. He still pushed Loma like, hey, it's no tomorrow. Like he said, he pushed Loma because he tried to say Loma was as good as Muhammad Ali. So he pushed Loma with that being the thing of how the greatness of Loma is out there. So. And Loma took another loss. And what did Bob Arum do? He kept pushing him. And now he was right there. After that loss, he was back in position again to fight for all his belts back again through Kambosos. And the only reason why he didn't is because he's from Ukraine and now he's over there fighting the war, or else he would have had that fight too. So, but then you have Bob Arum that takes a fighter like Terrence Crawford and doesn't push him as hard as Loma, who had losses, and Terrence Crawford didn't have a loss. Then you got people like Devin Haney, who doesn't get pushed as well. You got people like David Benavidez. David Benavidez has never been beat, but he lost his stuff on the scale. And yeah, you can say, okay, it was wrong. He lost on the scale, but a lot of boxers were having a hard time making weight off the COVID. Once the COVID was over with, they were missing weight. They weren't as sharp as they were because they couldn't get a lot of sparring in, and there was a lot of things that they couldn't do. And I'm not making excuses for David Benavidez, but it is what it is. So you have a fighter like David Benavidez who loses his belt on the scale, and then you have somebody like Canelo Alvarez who petitions the WBC to fight for Benavidez's belt, and he chose to fight Caleb Smith. And so he beat Caleb Smith, and so David Benavidez is like, look, I know I lost my belt, but can we fight? Can I get another opportunity to fight you for that? And so David Benavidez didn't get that shot. So it makes fighters like David Benavidez not want to go out and risk their O. And it's understandable. I mean, you wouldn't either. I mean, I get mad at these boxers. And I'm not saying David Benavidez by no means is saying that he doesn't want to fight all the other fighters. That ain't what I'm saying. I'm saying that David Benavidez, people like David Benavidez are more hesitant to fight. David Benavidez definitely wants smoke from Charlo, which is a weight class down, but he definitely won't smoke with Canelo Alvarez. So I don't think he's not ducking, but I'm just saying when you see a fighter that looks at David Benavidez or looks at some of these fighters out here that hasn't taken a loss and can't get a shot. They like, man, if I lose my O before I get there, I'll never get a shot. And it's almost a foregone. I mean, it's almost, what can we say? An exact of boxing, because it's like for certain few you get away with it, but others won't, because you got undefeated fighters that won't get a shot, and then you got fighters that have 1 or 2 losses that get every opportunity in the world. They just do. And it's a bad situation. I mean, you know, if you don't have let's just be honest, if you don't have the complexion for the protection, you're not gonna get that. You're not gonna get the same thing that Loma gets. You're not. No other fighter on Bob Arum has ever got that same thing. Not Mikey Garcia, not Floyd Mayweather, not Terrence Crawford. None of them got pushed like Loma. Loma has been pushed like he is as good as Muhammad Ali. I mean, the guy came right in and a few fights was fighting on a belt, lost, and was on ESPN, and they said on ESPN he was undefeated. Now, do you think they would have done that for Terrence Crawford? Hell no, they wouldn't have done it for Terrence Crawford. And so you got these fighters who were hesitant. But you got Terrence Crawford, who was a company man. He was all about top rank. He didn't never badmouth Top Rank. Every fighter they put in front of him, he wouldn't fall. So why didn't he get the nod, and why didn't he get treated just like Loma? So when he leaves Top Rank, he sues them for discrimination, which is right, which he should have, because it's blatant. Man, it's blatantly obvious what Bob Arum was doing. But it took Terrence Crawford to file that lawsuit, and then all of a sudden you saw Oscar Valdez. What did he do? Oscar Valdez went ahead and accepted the fight with Shakur Stevenson. So the writing's on the wall, man, on that. You got certain fighters that they're freezing out, especially when it's good fighters, and especially really good talented fighters that they're quote unquote calling boring fighters are going to always be pushed out. And that's what it was on this fight right here that I'm saying, Oscar Valdez and Shakur Stevenson. Shakur Stevenson wanted to fight. Oscar Valdez didn't want to fight. And I think at some point after the lawsuit that Bob Arum went to Oscar Valdez and he sweetened the pot for him some kind of way and got him in there and threatened him or something. I'm not sure if it was a threat. I'm not sure what it was, but it was something. But either way it goes, it had to happen. I mean, you can't have those guys dodging each other forever. But I guess Valdez's back was against the wall, and so he accepted the fight. And like I said, a little bit later on down the road, towards the end of April, I'll start doing my my fight breakdown. But I just wanted to get on here tonight, and like I said, wanted to go ahead and do a live. I've been wanting to do a live. I got some new software and stuff, and so I wanted to use it. I wanted to come out here and do a live. But I also wanted to talk about this because it was the first face-off, and I wanted to get people's reactions on it. So you guys seeing this video, you can leave your comment down in the comment section of what you guys think about that. And tell me what you guys think about the fight. Yeah, like I said, just tell me what you guys think about the fight. And so we're going to sign off of here in a little bit. I guess the algorithms tonight ain't working in my favor 100%. Didn't get the biggest audience that I wanted because first night coming out. So, hey, it's definitely a success. And we're going to be doing a lot more of these. And hopefully the algorithms will be on our side. And we'll adjust things and figure out how it's going and get my camera together because I'm seeing how this new system is working, man, and new camera and all that stuff. So I'll get all that together. But anyways, if you guys got something you guys want to say, feel free to leave it in the comment section. Had to have my tea tonight. Had to get that in here tonight. It's good. But we're gonna start going live every night, probably like around I say around 10:30, 11 o'clock. So be ready to tune in. We'll start going in, talking about the fights every night, Monday through Friday. I don't know how it's going to be on the weekends, but we'll right now we'll go Monday through Friday around 10, 11 o'clock at night. And we'll talk some boxing, man. We'll do some recaps of how the day went and throughout the day. And then we'll just do a night recap. And we'll talk boxing. And we'll let people call in and give their thoughts out on what they thought about the day or the news that hit. And, man, it's a whole lot to talk about boxing. Man, it's a lot to unpack out there. And we'll all do it together. So that's straight up no chaser, guys. So until tomorrow night, I'm out. Peace. Oh, yeah. Like, subscribe, and share. My bad. Like, subscribe, and share. You see the scroll going across the top, right? You see it going across the top? Like, subscribe, and share. And also, you see the Cash App. So, anyway, guys, feel free to be a part of it. And like I said, it's straight up no chaser. So, until tomorrow night, I'm out. Peace.